Hi, Kat. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so my name's Kat Mudd, and I kind of have my fingers in many pies. I do a range of things. So I work for the Northern School of Art. I work in the recruitment. So normally I go around the country and encourage students to follow the dreams of studying a creative degree and going into the creative industry. I also am doing a PGCE. So I teach part-time on the film course as well, which is my biggest passion. And I also co-curate HUN, which is an art collective that celebrates female artists in the Northeast. And that's me and my friend Holly Galloway, and we run that together. Been doing that for 2 years now, so that's exciting as well.
How did all this come about? Have you always been creative? Did you come from a creative background?
Yeah, so I mean, since being a tiny little emo goth child, Tim Burton was always the biggest thing. Obviously, I feel like if you went to art school and you didn't know who Tim Burton was, you were wasting your time going to art school. But that was kind of where my uniqueness started, was going to Goth Festival in Whitby, Tim Burton, Night Before Christmas, doing art at GCSE, creating massive polystyrene skulls for my final piece while everyone was doing like pretty portraits and things like that. And then I went to formerly CCAD, now Northern School of Art, studied there and did some film bits, and then obviously went into film at degree level as well. But I think it's just always been something that I've loved, just the arts, and the fact now I get to shout about it every day in different areas, different aspects of my life and my job as well. It's really exciting. My mum is really artistic, and now my brother's just started at the art college as well. So we're a very creative family and different in our own different ways. So it's just something I've loved.
Brilliant. So obviously we've interviewed a lot of people that have come out of CCAD or Northern School of Art, and it's been fantastic to see how many of those people have gone on to make that transition. There's a lot spoken about that difficulty where you get out of a framework where you're being given tasks to do, you've got deadlines to meet,
Yeah.
then taking it upon yourself, becoming conscientious and sort of putting your own projects and schemes together and sort of turning it into something that you do rather than something you're doing as part of a course.
I think that's the biggest difficulty, is obviously, even though obviously as an art school things are very open, you do have, like I said, deadlines and times to meet, but I think it kind of sets you up for life as well, because you're always going to have time constraints. And quite a few of my friends that have gone on from obviously creative education, lots have gone freelance. So Adele Catchpole, she recently, well, she was working at Tesco after graduating from textiles, and now she's a good friend of mine as well. In March, she decided to go freelance and put all of her heart and her passion into her work, because she knew she wasn't kind of getting the most of it working on the side and trying to do her own things as well. And now she's soaring. She's massive on social media. She's selling all sorts of bits and bobs over Christmas as well. So I think it's having that kind of mindset and being brave to take that jump. Sometimes you have to sacrifice some things to do what you want to do. And I think 2020 has been the year to do that, because it's been crap. And I think people have decided, right, okay, 2020, this is it, it's now or never. And you just see all sorts of, like I said, quite a few of my friends went to art education, and now more than ever they just think, biting the bullet and thinking, yeah, this is, why am I wasting my time working here or there? I want to do what I want to do. And they're all making money out of it as well. So I think the biggest thing is just do it, do what you want to do, be who you want to be. Otherwise life's going to be pretty rubbish and pretty boring.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think one thing we really need to do in the arts is to communicate this message that it isn't just a hobby, something you do in your spare time at your own expense. It really is a really good way of earning a living. Yeah. And the fact that there are 2 million people in this country who earn their living through the creative industries seems to be completely overlooked.
Yeah, it's 1 in 11 jobs in the UK is a creative job. It's like, I mean, the biggest thing in my role at the Northern School of Art is convincing parents and guardians that there is money, there are jobs. Once your child comes here, they're not just going to kind of be drawing all day and just, oh, this is what I've done. They're going to get a good education and they're going to get a fantastic career at the end of it, and something that they love and something they're passionate about. It's a big thing that I argue with a lot of people about, that there's so much money out there, there's so many jobs out there in arts, and it's definitely overlooked, especially in the Northeast as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's brilliant that you're heralding that call. One thing I have found heartening is difference between people of my generation who really were told, no, you do the sensible subjects and you go and get a proper job. Lot of the people that we've been interviewing are sons and daughters of like steel workers or coal miners or factory workers that were kind of sold this myth of, if you work really hard and dedicate yourselves, then you know you'll always have a job and you'll always be supported. And we've seen really clearly that, you know, I mean, things have been changing to the kind of gig economy and people don't stay in jobs for life anymore, and no job is completely safe anymore. And what's been great is that that those parents who were told to go and get a job actually have seen that. Like I was interviewing somebody whose parents were in the police force and they've quit and wanted like a yoga teacher, and they've completely encouraged her into the creative arts. We've had a guy that I interviewed who was offered a place to study art in Sunderland when he was 15 years old, and he was told, no, you're going down the pit. And that's what he did, and he's worked his way back here and now he earns a living through it. So really exciting that it seems for the younger generation, they're not going to have to spend 20 years finding out that what they wanted to do was make a career in the arts in the first place.
Definitely. I mean, my mum, she was, I said, very artistic. She works for the council and she went on as like a YTS scheme, so she'd been doing that job for a long time, and she was encouraged by her art teacher to go to the art college, obviously from Thornaby, and obviously Middlesbrough was miles away, Middlesbrough was too far, and she thought, what am I going to do with that? And she even now says, I wish, like, she's still deciding who she wants to be. She wishes she had that opportunity and that push from kind of people at home to be creative. And I do think it's a lot more accessible now as well. Like you said, people are more accepting. There's more options and opportunities as well. It's just sometimes convincing people that it's worth it, and there's a lot to do out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I could talk about this all day. My favourite subjects. But let's talk a little bit about your work in film.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I did a film degree at Teesside, and it's just something I've just always loved. Film. I've always known when I was little who did this, what that director's done, how they've done that camera, how they've done things like that. At uni, I had the opportunity to do a documentary on Hanny Begg, who's recently passed away. She was a Holocaust survivor, and we went and did a documentary with her, interviewed her, got all her amazing stories. And documentary is a thing that I'm more passionate about. I haven't had much opportunity to do things once I've graduated. As we know, you get kind of caught in that work cog and having to do things like that. That's why I'm glad I found my place now at the Northern School of Art. And finally, I love working in the role that I do, but having that teaching these first year students, all these like fresh faced 16-year-olds, kind of passing my passion on to them to go into filmmaking, it's really, really exciting. I kind of feel like I found my spot in the creative industry a little bit, and being able to do that. But I just love film. I love all the people in film, especially the women in film. People like Millicent Patrick, who is an unsung hero of Universal Monsters. She created the creature in the Black Lagoon, and that's someone that I can talk about all day, because she was totally overlooked by men in the industry. Her work wasn't credited for decades, and now she's finally being sung about and talked about. But
sadly, not a unique story.
Exactly, and that's why we did Hun, because we knew that there wasn't a platform for women in the industry, especially in the Northeast. So that was the big thing with Hun. And yeah, just there's, I could talk about it forever. I keep telling my film students, watch this film, watch that film, that's by a woman, this is written by a woman. And they're looking at, obviously Edgar Wright, Wes Anderson, fantastic, but there's different people out there, there's women out there that are making fantastic films and have done for many, many years.
Yeah, same as we discovered about writers doing our English degrees. Yeah, and you know, this idea that a lot of the old writers who are attributed to Anon are more likely to be women, because women, I mean, they weren't allowed to read. They weren't, you know, they could be incarcerated for reading novels. So thankfully we're not quite. It's not quite that bad, but there's still a little bit of work to be done.
We're not being bent at the stake anymore, but there's still lots of work to be done, definitely.
Yeah. So tell us about Hun.
So Hun, kind of, because me and Holly, she works with me as well, but she's works in photography, in the photography department. She's a lecturer and technician there. And we were doing a lot of traveling together for work, going around and talking about the degrees. And we were just chatting and thinking, what could we do? Because we're both very passionate about the arts and about women in the arts. And it kind of started off first as we were going to do a documentary series about women in the Northeast, but we wanted to make something a bit more permanent and something a bit more that more accessible, more people can be involved in, and that's where Hun came from. We sat in a Wetherspoons in Hartlepool and thought, what can we do? And obviously we definitely want to celebrate women in the Northeast, definitely want to celebrate the arts. And the word, Holly has a fantastic list of words that she likes, and she had honey, and then from honey came Hun, and we kind of, quite cheesy, we wanted to kind of reclaim the word, because it can be quite like, oh, you're a Hun, like a bit, but we wanted to reclaim that. And that's where Hun came from. And then we had our first show, I'm sure it was 2 years ago. It was around now, 2 years ago. Definitely wasn't 3, I'm sure it was 2 years ago. All the years merged together. And we just had it in Hit the Bar in Middlesbrough. And obviously we knew our friends were going to come, but we thought, are people going to turn up? Is this what people want to see? We both put the day off at work and made sure it was all up, all the work was up. And people just came in, and more people came in, and more people were like, oh, I've actually done something quite good. And then we did another one. We had Venus, Venus Girls, the punk band from Leeds, and because I think the keyboardist is from Hartlepool, they played at one of our shows as well, and that was kind of like, are people going to like it? People came like, oh, like you only kind of having that out of body moment, like we're actually doing something good. Like I remember that night I was over the moon. I was just like ecstatic, because I can't believe we've planned this together. Just us two have planned this, starting in a Wetherspoons, and now we've got other people messaging like, can I be involved in your next show? Can I do this? Can I do that? And obviously news people have been involved, and obviously being able to see someone's artwork on telly and on online, and Steve Spithray wrote about us as well in NARC, and that was, to me, just totally not something I ever thought would happen being in NARC magazine. And we were next to the article that we're in, it was next to an interview with a band called Camp Cope, which is an all-female band from Australia that I love, and just opening this page and seeing them and seeing mine, Holly's faces, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Obviously it's been a bit on hold at the minute because of everything. We did an online graduate show on Instagram, but we're hoping in the new year we'll be able to just hit the ground running and be able to get art shows on again and get people through the door and get people looking at all the amazing talent that the women in the Northeast have.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's always it's nerve-wracking, isn't it? It's like, no matter how much confidence that you have in what you're putting out there, you never know, you know if people will come, you don't know what the reaction will be. And I think it's, you know, it can be extraordinarily stressful, but it is so exciting when you put all that time and effort into something, and then people do turn up.
Yeah, if people came through the door, it's like, well, we've done it. We've done it.
Brilliant. So you touched a little bit there on how lockdowns affected Hun. How have things been for you? Have you been really restricted in your work? Have you managed to sort of put stuff more online? How's lockdown been?
Yeah, it's just the worst, isn't it? 2020 has just been pretty rubbish, but when it comes to Hun, obviously we knew we were kind of at the beginning of the year. Holly had started, she's doing an MA, and we thought we'll definitely do something in the summer, but we'll just kind of keep busy online. And then lockdown happened, so we thought, what can we do? And we knew that especially creative students were having issues with their different universities. They weren't doing art shows, they weren't doing like the final shows, and I was like, I want to do something. So we had our online graduate showcase where just every other day we posted an artist piece of work with all of the social media links, any websites they had, just to encourage people to have a look and see what's going on. Obviously that's a constant highlight on our Instagram as well. Everything's just moved online. And when it comes to work at the Northern Art, we obviously was totally, I've never been so, like it was just crazy, because normally the week we went into lockdown, the week before I'd been in London, Manchester, West London, doing like the UCAS fairs where you talk to students, encourage them to come study with us. And then we got in one day, it's like, right, okay, yeah, that's it, we're going into lockdown, you can't do it anymore. And it was like, what? Because normally that's the busiest time of the year. And I was thinking, well, hang on, like how can we do it? Because obviously Teams wasn't really a thing, Zoom wasn't really being used, and it was like, how are we going to reach these kids that are probably sitting at home, panicking about their exams, panicking about any hand-ins they've got, and you wanted to get there and be like, it's fine, you'll be fine, just do your best and we'll see you in September. Do you know what I mean? It was a very strange thing. And then we were back in from August, and it was same again, still everything's online. Even now we're doing talks online like this to colleges and things, and it's not the same. You want to meet somebody and talk to them and just get out of them what they want to do and what it is they want to kind of go off to do in the future. And it's so hard to do that, especially when you can't see them, because sometimes it's just you talking to yourself and you're hoping that they're listening and taking it in. and it's just very strange, because I love to kind of meet that student at a careers fair or whatever and see them at an open day, and you get to talk to them and talk to the parents or guardians, whoever they're there with, and convince them that arts is the right choice. And it's so difficult to not be able to do that, because you're just hoping that they're listening to what you're saying. And I'm glad I'm back in work. I hated working from home. It was not for me, because it was home was work, work was home. If you had the day off, you were at work, but you're at home, and things like that. So I'm glad that we had the opportunity to go in earlier than most people. My boyfriend's been working from home since March, and it's awful. It's awful to see that happen, because he's a very creative, very sociable person. So it's definitely been difficult to see that and to see things, and we just hope 2021 is going to be a bit more normal, don't we? Whether it will be, who knows, but all we've got left is our positivity. We need to be positive and hope that it'll change.
Yeah, absolutely. No matter how long we have to bide our time, we will bide our time. And it has been encouraging to see actually a lot of the artists in whatever art form have been really grateful of the chance to step back and take pause and reflect on their work and where they want to go. And as you say, a lot of them have set up new businesses and things like that. We've kind of had to, there's been that kind of middle ground where people haven't had any support at all whatsoever. But yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope we can get out and see one another in person. And
we're Northern, we're strong. We can do anything when we're Northern.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all around the country, we've got friends who are showing great resilience, but I think particularly in the Northeast, there's been a lack of support as it is. People are used to fending for themselves, doing stuff for themselves, being entirely self-reliant. And I think that's stood us in good stead. Yeah,
definitely. I don't want to go into it because it makes me so mad, but the Northeast deserves so much better. But like you said, we've been through so much as a whole over many, many years with different governments and things like that. And we're strong from that. We've got through everything else. We can get through this, definitely.
Yeah, and this project, we've had hundreds of really, really strong, clear voices, all just champions of the arts, advocates of the arts. I'm so pleased of what we've achieved here, and I think once it's edited down into a film, it's going to be really impactful. I mean, it's going to be, it's via Zoom, so some people you can barely see, some people are coming in and out. Sometimes my kids come and, but, that's just how it is. And I think that honesty is good for it, to just say, we are just speaking from our hearts on Zoom, tricky circumstances, but I think everyone's really, every single voice has been really, really important and really, really positive. Even the people that have been suffering, the people that have been willing to come and say it's been hard, that's as important as people saying, I've been okay and I will do it. So thank you
as well.
And thanks so much for adding your voice to it. It was really great to speak to somebody who's, very much engaged in that process of convincing people that the arts is a way to make your living, and if you're drawn to it, then you can do it.
Yeah, definitely a fight worth fighting, 100%.
Terrific. Thanks ever so much, Kat, and I look forward to seeing you out there in the real world when we can.
Nice to meet you virtually.
Toodle pip.
Bye.